Okay, so since there's been a lot of like questions about um like making sure that teams are working on their synergy and performance, I'm just gonna go back to not really go back to it, but I normally watch all the teams' VODs, so I'm just gonna go back to watching them, and while I watch them, I record them and talk about it so teams can actually look back and watch them, and also they can also put their comments or what they feel like in the comment section of the YouTube video, so they can also discuss it with their teammates as well. But I'm just gonna go through the VOD that I recorded today of Team Jupiter Scrim and just give them a bit of pointers about what I noticed and what we can talk about. By the way, I am a bad recorder, so we'll just go through with it.
I'm gonna target
We go.
last time.
Okay, so first of all, your comp is fine. Obviously, you are making this situation because of Pablo. Well, let's use a brighter color. Alright, how do I clear the screen? It's that one, isn't it? So, always here because of Pablo. Pablo is like not used to the meta now with quad DPS. Doesn't really play a lot of quad DPS. So this composition is fine. Obviously with Kyle here, this will be a Widowmaker, and this composition will be fine for this map. They're running goats, so the quad DPS should have an advantage against that. Alright, let's roll out. Wait, doesn't spacebar work? Nice. Spacebar don't stop.
If this doesn't work, we're gonna die. It depends on what they have.
Okay, cool. Nice. Go, Crampy, go.
Wait.
Damage boost.
They're going left.
What do they have?
I think they have goats. I saw a diva.
Yeah, there we go.
Nice call out
Oh,
on the call.
Pog. This is great.
We can take them from multiple angles here. I'm gonna look for a side boot.
Good.
If you let them
I
through.
can go for the line.
I'm sorry.
Nice pick by Lawrence there.
I
I don't think these guys know what they should be doing on goats because they are moving together, right? Like right now they're moving together, which is fine. The Lucio is low HP. I think he's about to die. The Zen's on low HP. They're stuck in this room with a Doomfist pressuring them, a Pharah pressuring them from outside, a Sombra coming in from the outside as well, coming into pressure, as well as the ball. They didn't know what to do, and they just went into a very close space where they got multiple angles on them and just got fucked. So bad play by them. I don't think they had a game plan on how to play against the triple quad DPS, so they just got rolled here, I believe. Like they got the pick on thing, which is huge.
Zen's
Yeah. Zen's
Right,
really low.
right,
Zen could die.
Okay, they traded for Lawrence, yeah, but they're gonna get rolled. That's also serving.
I see you.
We can come around.
Can you
Nice,
resist
pick
it?
up the cat.
Easy first fight.
Yes.
Thank you.
Well played to Cram. Well played, got everyone
Just press
to
X.
getting the cross angle.
Yeah.
No, but I just need the damage boost from it.
Because I didn't see you.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah.
Okay. Just when we get another wipe, come and hack their offensive path.
They have Widow, be careful, Farah, and Sombra. They're full DPS.
I can block for you if you want.
Yeah,
DPS.
there we go.
They
Nice.
Yeah. Mirror.
You see, Kitty, this
I-
is for Kitty. This is what I was talking about. You know, towards the end of the third scrim when I subbed you in. This calls that you're doing now. Like if I just go back a couple of seconds now, so we can listen to it again and what you were saying.
Farah, and Sombra. Didn't see you.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just listen out.
Just when we get another wipe, come and hack their offensive path.
They have Widow, be careful, Farah, and Sombra. They're full DPS.
I can block for you.
Yeah, so that kind of call, you should be doing that every time you see the opportunity to do it. When they swap comp, you're checking it out, telling your teammates to be careful when you're when you're leaving them, when you're going to them. You can do that, and just make sure that you're doing that regularly instead of just situational. You know, if you're doing that all the time, then it's better for your team because then they can use that information to play better, like we were talking about before. And then I know you mentioned that you said why did no one bring it up in the VOD reviews when you guys do the VOD review. I think it's more or less that when people have different perspectives of stuff, and sometimes some people like myself, I can see the angle differently than what Crampy can see it from or someone else can. So bringing out that thing is good, but like that call, let's get it going. I like that. I like that call. We should keep it going.
DPS. I understand.
Mirror.
I have
I got the Sombra out of.
I'll go play the left side of the map.
Okay, so they're swapping to quad, I think? Yeah, they're swapping to quad.
We can force them on point, so we don't give the Widow the space, and they have to play on point.
Oh, they have someone now, so I have to be.
Yeah, that's right. We can play on point, boys. So we
Yeah.
have to. So the Widow has got will have no value if we play on point.
Sorry, I'm thinking about what Lauren said. That's fine. Playing on point is good. They don't have any angles to come in. So if you guys are playing on point, your win condition here should be that your... Sorry, get my pencil out. Your pharmacy has to win the aerial battle. Away from the angles of the Widow, because this is the Widow, I believe, over here. So this Widow is covering here, and then most of here. Obviously, it's hard because they have the Widowmaker and the Ana to pressure out the Pharah in the sky. So Lawrence made the right call as to playing on point, because then they need to come in. Widowmaker has to get a more aggressive angle to be able to get shots on everyone else that isn't Crampy. So what I would have done in this situation, Crampy, here is fine, because you can pressure out everyone else, but also taking the angle on the other side of the pillar would also be like super amazing, because then it's an angle that you can drop down quickly onto that the mini on that side, and not sit down in the open where if this Widowmaker gets a shot on you, then she can just like grapple forward and then finish you off or something like that. So just thinking about, I'm not saying that what you're doing here is wrong. That's not what I'm saying at all. It's just that you can think about another angle to take when playing Pharah instead of just sitting in main all the time. But yeah, Lawrence made a good call there. I like that. Alright, let's continue.
No.
Let's see how this
So
pans out.
move forward, they'll have no value too. Ball, just pressure board a bit.
That
I'm
Mercy
gonna
was
pressure
lagging
the
super
Pharah.
hard.
Pharah half.
Yeah, look, because the Mercy was AFK there, and I think Lawrence is about to kill her.
Pharah one.
Oh. Any healing here?
Good
And a
Mercy.
shot as well.
Full high.
Nice.
Really just all
Yeah, the
the
Mercy went AFK, so the Pharah didn't get a pocket.
Yeah.
I can pressure her.
I don't know.
No one else got any healing. Crampy's able to clean up.
Taking the side, on the side. Come with me.
I'm with you. Go with
No,
me.
we do.
Pharah one, nice. Widow one as well, Widow one.
Back not hacked anymore. So
I just think these...
We can
fuck.
the,
I just think these guys don't know... Like, they don't have a game plan.
Sure. Yeah.
They're trying to
You
match...
have my queen now?
They're trying to match your composition, but not sure how to execute it, I think. And plus their Mercy's lagging their chunk off, so it doesn't help that
Pause,
situation.
pause, pause.
Okay. Can you pause?
Yeah, the Mercy was
Pause,
lagging
pause.
so hard. Alright, when do we get back
Big
into the game?
Okay.
Yeah, let-
EMP and my health.
Sure.
Okay, so... Every alt is on board. Now, in a situation like this where you have every alt, it's best to rotate them out in segments. Like, you have a plan 1, plan 2, and then plan 3. You know? I believe in this comms what happens is the plan 1 that Peter made was to cover the bridge. You know? That could be your plan 1. So your plan 1 was the Hammond to cover the bridge, to cover their approach. Then plan 2 could be you have 2 offensive ultimates to stall on point. 3 to stall on point if they even come in. So that could be your plan 2. And then during plan 2, if anyone needs saving, then you can use Nano. You know? Like, you can vary up the plans, but I think the plan, everyone kind of had like their own plan for what they wanted to do with their ult, and that's what happened here, if I remember correctly.
We pop up everywhere.
Back a little bit. Give them space. Okay.
Let them come to point. Let them come to point.
I'm
So
gonna
we can-
mind
the big EMP.
I'm just gonna use mines on bridge so they can't pass it. Like, it's,
But then we're using trials.
look, now they can't pass it.
Okay, pog.
Oh, behind you. It's alright.
I'm pressing. Oh, pushing with
So that's 1 ult.
What?
Widow one. Laguna coming.
That was for you.
Oh, that was huge! Grab me, holy shit!
Sorry.
No. Oh, Oh, he crashed again. Unfortunate. McCree?
Yeah. So, I mean, like, you won the fight. There's no way these guys were going to win the fight. They had no ults. Like, they had no ults since the previous fights. But it's kind of like always, when you have a lot of ults like that, it's always best to think about a plan. Alright, this pause was like for 10, like, so long. Well, yeah, good first round. These guys didn't have an idea of how to play against your comp, which is good. So you can use that to your advantage. Alright, okay.
Unless you've played her a lot.
I've played.
Good if you won.
Wow.
Yeah.
Is that your response to that? Okay.
Fuck
Not
me.
listening to me as usual.
Kitty not listening to the
Okay,
comms.
focus
Toxic.
You're reported.
No, Kitty, make good. What the fuck?
Yeah, Kitty, you should have swapped, but it doesn't matter.
It's good,
Yeah,
boys.
calm down.
I'm not.
Can we have a Zen? Can we have a Zen?
It's okay, it's okay. Anna is actually good.
I can't. Okay, no.
Okay, so before we engage, they're running old. What is this? They're running 2-2-2 with the Doomfist May. So in looking at the compositions, the advantage that they have is that they have more displacement ability with the May freeze and that. But you guys have more focus potential. So, like, your objective should be focused on one target at a time when they're out of cooldown. Like, for instance, if Doomfist uses all his abilities to engage, then you focus him. If May uses Ice Block, then you focus her out of Ice Block. Zarya uses Personal, you focus her. If she uses Projected on Ryan, you focus him. Lucio's out of position, you focus him. And, like, Anna is kind of very situational. It depends on the position of your team. But, like, right now, your objective should be forcing Ice Block, forcing Projected. Those should be your two biggest goals, because those ones are kind of... You can kind of dictate on how they use these abilities, because you can make them use it. Rather than, you can't make a Doomfist use all three abilities to engage. You know? So, these two characters are the ones you should make sure you pressure out in the beginning fight, when you're running goods.
Jay, bring them here. Oh, no,
Right, so the Lucio fed, huge, big time. So this fight should be 100%.
Doofus.
But Kitty also gets picked off by the Doomfist, so it's 1 for 1 now. 2 for 1, depending
Still
on the
winnable.
Go for
Doomfist.
Diana, go for Diana, go for Diana. I'm gonna fucking...
Nice pin, unlucky.
I'm blocking. Big bubble. We're two up. Be aggressive.
Pick by Lawrence.
Let's go right.
Silent leap in a point.
Oh, double kill.
Right
That's
there,
GG.
right
Is there?
there. Push up on Zaya.
Am I doing?
Yeah, so the Lucio fucked up. Their Lucio fucked up by getting super aggressive when it's not Mirror Goats. And he just got absolutely gobsmacked by Lawrence with the stun and everything, and that just fucked him up. Kitty was also unlucky. He also stepped forward when you guys were looking to play aggressive after that pick. He also died. But then you guys have more sustain than they do. When they lose their Lucio, they only have Anna. So Lawrence made the call to focus Yana in that fight, which is good. And you guys just rolled. So good fight.
We need to... This game, dude, I swear to God.
Okay,
My
you
friend
push
is
up.
Hello, if you die after your nano, can you go
No, he's good.
Zen, please? Yeah, but the goal is to play with the Zenyatta, not because
Yeah.
The thing is, they have Anna. If they have no trance,
Shouldn't be doing the lectures like this in the middle. Like, this composition is not bad. Oh, shit, bad circle. This composition is not bad. Obviously, I can understand what Crampy is saying. Because with Kyle, you will be playing Zen Lucio in this kind of situation. But then, like I told Crampy in the Scrim, it's kind of like adapting to what you have. You know, if you have someone that can play Anna better than their Zen, then he can just adapt your goods to how to play with Anna than how to play with Zen. And it shouldn't be fine. And I already explained this in the Scrim. But the way you play Anna goats is abusing Nade and forcing Bubble and then playing aggro. Or you play aggro to force Bubbles and then the Anna looks for the Nade and then you play aggressive off that. So there are two ways to approach it. You know, so it's always communicating with your Anna with nade cooldowns, so you can abuse that. and also communicating the Zarya bubble cooldowns to the Ana, so that she knows that she can go for an aggressive nade and you guys can roll off that. Alright, let's continue. Fuck, dude.
If we trans, they can throw a nade in it, and it's fucking over. We can put up walls and nade the back.
Back up. My shoot's left. He might have shutter.
I know, let's say. Let's say behind us on the stairs.
I can't do it.
Lawrence reacted. Good.
No,
It's not bad. I'm a dumb. I've shutter. Let it through.
Oh.
Big shot.
running.
Is she gonna die?
Get it do.
Same with Doom.
Yeah, CG. Big overall. How many ults did you guys use? You
What's
guys
the
used
question?
Shadow, Nano, and
You
then
got
Rally
fast.
to clean up. That's fine. But he hasn't been in the fight that much, so he doesn't have beat, which is
We have
unfortunate.
Graph coming up. We can use Graph.
He's died early.
I don't-
Oh
I-
fuck!
I don't really
I pressed the
understand.
wrong button. He's died early in 2 fights, so he doesn't have his trans. Alright, okay. So going into this fight, you guys have 2 ultimates. I think Crampy made the call to combo these two. Like these two. But Lawrence said it was a bad idea. Like, I think in this situation, you should just look for either, like I've been saying before, look to pressure out the bubbles, and then look for a grab nade, or just look for a nade first, watch for the bubble, and then grab. Because it's good to get a grab when you know you can win the fight, rather than in the efforts to win a fight. Because if you know you're gonna win the fight with grab, then you know within yourselves that you don't have to commit anything more. But when someone throws a grab and you're like, oh, are we sure we're gonna win this? Then people get like indecisive and start throwing
Graph next fight.
Yeah,
and
We can
ice.
combo grab ice.
Why? That's too much.
My shoot.
No, that's not too much. That's actually pretty
Did he
good.
shatter, by the way? I swear I heard his
Yeah,
shatter.
He shot it. I blocked it.
Let one come. They're gonna try to wall.
Oh, that's a really big
Yeah.
I can't leave this.
So they countered.
And then you rock.
So they countered with their own. They basically did the combo that you guys wanted to do. But then you guys did not anticipate. I can't even speak. Anticipate that, because you guys weren't making any sort of counterplay plan. You guys were fully on the offense, but not thinking about the defense. And when they made their own plan, you guys were like, "Oh shit, they countered shit," you know. So that's what when I was speaking about it today. It's like the ultimate tracking. It's there in segments, but it could be better. Like, for instance, if you guys had like respected the fact that they had their own ultimates, like Peter was talking about Shadow, but then there was no respect for the Ana thing, the Lucio beat, the Doomfist. No one spoke about these ultimates. They were like, the only ultimate I was spoken about was Ryan's. All other 501s weren't even spoke about, and you guys were so focused on doing your own plan that you forget that the enemy too can also come up with a plan. So like I said, you guys need to work on your ult tracking. Like, everyone needs to contribute to Crampy, so Crampy can make the plan of what to do. Then I feel like your fights will be 100% way easier when you guys have an engaged plan and you also have a defense plan, because that's also important. Like, you guys got caught off guard because you didn't have a defense plan, and you guys got absolutely rolled by the Doomfist.
70%.
Come back. Point. We stall.
No, just
Yeah.
I'm 80, you want to?
So the TLDR is, when you're making an offensive plan. When you're making an offensive plan with your ultimates, also consider what the enemy have to counteract what you're doing. Because it's like playing chess, you know. Like, you can make your moves on the chessboard, but your opponent can also make moves to counteract your moves. So you also need to respect what they're doing as well, and not only go with your plan.
No.
Yeah, but we...
I mean, we need to practice this too, right? So.
Yeah, but
Oh, too late.
we had none of them.
Yeah.
Okay,
No,
so
but we need
Pablo's
to practice
wants
the
to.
Zen, because we're gonna play Zen, we're not gonna play Ana when we come.
Yeah, I won't speak Pablo's again already.
Ghost is
We're gonna have a discussion about that,
good
though.
thing. Yeah.
Okay, so
Jay
that's
behind. You can play soon.
Crampy kind of just used that ultimate without a plan. Lucio's dead. Dead Doomfist is in the air now. You guys were discussing, like, no one was even ready for the fight. You guys just kind of rolled in on natural intuition, you know, like without a plan. Like, if we go back at comms a bit, You guys were coming
I
back.
mean, we need to practice this too, right? So.
Yeah, but
Oh, too late.
we had none of them.
Yeah.
No, but we need to practice the Zen because we're gonna play Zen. We're not gonna play Ana when we.
Yeah, so you're focusing on talking about like the Ana and the Zen thing that you guys even talk about what you guys are gonna do. Crampy just kind of threw his on, and you guys were like, "Hey guys, let's go in."
Dude,
Ana Ghost is
gonna have a
a
discussion about that,
good
though.
thing. Yeah.
Yeah, everyone's
Zoom
focused on.
behind. Zoom close, zoom. Mate.
You will be.
That freeze came in clutch, just froze the Lucio there.
Push.
I can get bib shot from 112. I'm blocking him.
Holy shit.
Ooh, big beat from Kitty to save.
Run low.
Get right.
It's GG though. They can't
Right
come
at
back.
Baron, nice. Die now. Push up.
Yeah,
Tap
you guys
on,
use
go.
one on and you win the fight. Because they were not prepared. And also you guys didn't prepare, you guys were just based on for whim because you guys didn't come up with the
Until
game
this
plan.
man, if they don't move. I'll
I guess
pretend
it worked
push
out
one
though.
in the wall.
But let's focus on like all this kind of conversation. Let's keep it to a minimum, especially like between Crampy and Lawrence. Like the discussion about like what we're doing and what we should be doing. You know, if it's like keep the questions to yes no. Keep the questions to like yes or no answers. Rather than people giving elaborate answers about what we're doing. Like should we play Zen Lucio? Yes, no.
Back up.
Rather than we should be practicing this, why aren't we practicing this? And then like the whole distraction is taken away from the game. Because if you're playing against better opponents, like I don't think these guys were super good, but if you're playing against better opponents, there won't be time to think about stuff like this.
Shatter when they come in.
Because you have the luxury of thinking that you're better than the enemy, is why you can discuss things like this. And that's the honest truth, because I also do it. When I feel like I'm better than someone, that I tend to relax a bit. You know, but focusing on the game, and then after the game, you can say that, hey Pablo, we want to practice our Zen goat, so we really mind you if you play Zen more. Rather than discussing it in the middle of the game and letting it affect the whole overall comps.
Yeah, we'll try.
So this is last fight. They have
I think
two odds. You
coming
guys
in
have
the
two
close
odds. How do you plan it?
Up.
Oh, never mind.
Uh,
Pause. They say as they.
Oh,
Oh
so
shit.
they didn't even touch point. It's GG anyway. Well, I think there's one more game after this, so I'll just roll that in quickly. I think it's this one.
Good.
No, they have full
Okay,
good.
so
Oh, they're going back.
yeah. Stop.
okay, so this is Night Market. I think this is the last map of Lijang. You get through this one quickly because there wasn't too much. Like you can see in the bottom, it was a 4-minute game. You guys rolled out with your triple DPS comp, and they rolled out with goods. I think they're going back to swap.
Put
to
pressure,
match you
pressure,
guys.
someone.
pressure.
Oh, they have McCree now? Okay.
Okay, so they swapped to double hit scan to pressure our Crampy
Where is
I'm
McCree?
trying to get
with a Vrine Diva. Interesting composition. They could have gone
Oh,
Monkey.
they-
And dash to his.
No, they kept the Lucio. So I know this comp is interesting. Like this comp is a weird champ. They don't like the only characters that have the mobility to escape quad DPS pressure is Lucio and Diva. All the rest of these characters are like sitting ducks. Maybe the Ashe with Coach Gun. But the rest of these characters are just sitting ducks. And one of the good things about quad DPS, what makes it strong, is getting multi-angles. And these characters that have little to no resources to get away are going to struggle. So I would never play this comp against quad. The best composition to play against quad is Dive. Dive is very effective against this composition. Just because of the fact that two flankers pressuring out like one of the DPS will always be a plus. Like for instance, you have a Genji Tracer pressuring out the Doomfist, then that's one out. And the rest of the characters can kind of sustain for themselves rather than relying on one another. Because Dive is all about individual effort rather than team effort. So, their composition, super bad. You guys should have an easy time playing against that.
I'm about to get flashed. I'm fine.
Fuck,
Good down.
They have Ashe as well.
So like, yeah, look, Crampy's just getting free damage because they can't do anything about it. Crampy gets a pick.
The McCree's out.
Lawrence gets a good pick.
Thank you.
Try that grind. Gonna try that grind now.
Ah!
Where is Ash? Where is Ash?
Right. Looking for
Fuck.
I don't know.
Yeah, pressure on. He's on. Dead. Oh,
Yeah.
I'm up.
Damn.
Oof. Yeah, so like their comp is not gonna do anything against your multiple angles. They're just gonna sit there, take damage, slowly, like slow attrition damage, and then just get rolled. No matter what ultimates they have.
Yeah, no,
Don't worry. But they don't know. They don't
Ah,
know.
look, they're trolling.
Look at them. They don't know.
Oh.
Big nade.
Hashtag fog.
Yeah, nice pick, and then they get rolled.
I need Bob. I need
Oh no, they have
The
more.
Lawrence is dead,
They won't focusing on me though.
but it's 3 for 1 though. They can't do anything
I have
about it.
my ult.
Nice one, Peter. Big rollout. This is a big rollout.
Nice.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, dude. Like they can't. There's nothing they can
David
do
can die.
We have
because they
don't
have
care.
four. They have fucking 3.5 immobile characters against quad DPS. They're just gonna get rolled.
coming up. We can.
I have my ult.
Yeah, fine.
Yeah, so.
Yes,
What
again,
Did they see what?
like I said, the downtime. If you just listen to your downtime, you talk about what you have and what you're going to do, but you're not talking about what they have. Obviously, they're not gonna have any ults because like none of them are playing amazing. But like the no respect to what they're doing in comparison to what you're doing is not something that you should be doing.
Listen,
Should just
they
be
have-
thinking about
we
what they're
have
doing and
EMP coming up soon,
what you're
as
going
well
to do
as,
and what they're going to
ultimate.
do.
You can ult me, nano me, I mean, and I can go in like let's
The
see.
top, the top.
Can you nano? Can you nano? Nice. Oh fuck.
Levi.
I'm an idiot.
It's okay though. Nice.
Big ult from Crappy. It's a
David,
2k,
David,
drains his life, so it's 2 for 2.
Yeah, and Lucio left.
Right.
Okay, that's
Big
bomb,
Diva
yeah.
bomb.
Cool.
Super bad.
Wait, did you want me? What the fuck?
Wait, what the
Why
fuck
not?
happened there?
Lucio left.
Where's
that's bomb, I
Kitty?
guess. Cool.
Oh,
Wait, did you want me? What the fuck?
yeah, oh, definitely gonna be on you. You're going towards their spawn, Kitty, excuse me.
Right up.
again.
I'll get this point, I'll get this point.
Run down.
David,
I'm holding on now.
David half.
Pablo dies.
Levi, no.
I think you guys should just reset here.
I'm dead.
Yeah, just reset.
I'm running.
Ooh, pick from Peter. He ults.
We can book them off.
I'm being left.
Yeah, just reset at this point. Just
Reset,
reset.
yeah.
We're just feeding them ult. Reset and we go with EMP in. If they're guarding the point, we can send in Crappy to lure them in if they're not playing inside, and then we EMP, okay?
I shouldn't mind. That's cool. You have EMP.
Yeah, I won't say it again, but yeah,
Yeah,
think about your plan, but not thinking about their plan.
I'm in the back. I'm in the back alone.
I'm in a position. I'm in a
Crappy got
position where I
picked
can
off. Got res. Jay gets a pick on McCree.
Tell me when you're ready.
Double nade.
I'm ready. 3, 2, 1.
Oh, caught the shadow, dude.
Oh fuck.
Yes, GG.
I'm on the.
Levi.
Diva. Why is she losing the point?
I'll look at Vicks when they come back on. Zero.
Yeah, dude, that Diva got fucked.
Lucio.
Yeah, got put
I
in
don't want.
the bin.
I don't know, Steve. Dead.
Macru, that's it. Mate, he's sleeping.
Lucio one.
Why?
Lucio one.
Yeah,
Boom,
GG.
boom,
These
boom.
guys didn't know what they were doing. But yeah, you guys played well. Like, a little bit of errors
I'm dead.
when it came to some things.
Yeah,
So let me just pause it quickly. So the TLDR of everything that I spoke about now is compositions. Your comps are good. You guys can play your compositions. You guys know what your win conditions are in every comp that you played. So you guys played your budget triple / quad DPS comp, and you guys played your Maygoats, right? You guys played them super well, right? The only problem that you guys lacked, which affected your game, especially against a team like that, which didn't look like they had a game plan, was you weren't respecting what they could do to counter what you were doing. So you were so focused on what what Team Jupiter was doing, or not what the enemy team was doing, which is bad in situations where they actually have ultimates to counter you. Like, you guys are caught in cooldowns, but in terms of like the downtime where you guys could be discussing it, you guys are not discussing it as to what they can do to counter your plan. So you're making your plan, which is A+, right? But you're not thinking about what their plan is to counter your ult, so you cannot react when they make their play. So that's the TLDR to take away from that. Everything else is good. You're working on it, which is amazing. Everyone played well. No one did a major fuck up. The only personal feedback I could give to anyone here is Kitty, keep your comms up as to what you're doing and what you want to do more, rather than saying it situationally like you did in the first game where I pointed out to you, and just keep that going throughout the game. Say when you're leaving someone when you're playing Mercy, say when you're going to someone, say when you're amping, say when you're speeding. You know, all these stuff are very important for the rest of your team to be able to understand what they can do with your support. But if you're giving someone support and you're not telling them that they're getting the support, then it's kind of hard for them to make that decision to go in, to play aggressive, to play defensive, you know. So that's all I can say. Alright. I'll do the Numbani game next. Let me just save this video. Oh, I can't save it. Oops, I'm trolling.